back to Basement Video Podcast. Alex, are you excited today?
Oh boy, howdy am I excited today. I got my best buddy Tommy here sitting next to me.
How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing pretty good.
It's good to see you, buddy.
Oh, you sack of shit.
Thanks, man. I'm so glad I came on to this podcast.
Great friends, as you can
We
tell.
treat each other really good on this podcast,
Yeah.
especially me and Alex. You know, we're really good to each other.
You guys are like a married couple.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I'm
About to
very
be
old
divorced.
married. Yeah.
A three-way fat guy marriage.
Yeah.
Nice.
Andrew, you want to be our skinny little pole?
Oh God.
No, I'm good.
Why?
I'm good, bro. I got Nicole, so like I'm good.
You won't be
We
cold.
won't use your dick. We'll just
Listen,
use your
you
head
won't-
and feet.
We can promise
Sit
you
out.
won't be cold during the wintertime, okay?
Alex will lift up his stomach and put you under it.
What's that thing from Star Wars that he cuts
A
off?
tauntaun.
Cut open
I thought they
Alex's
smelled
stomach.
bad on the outside.
You ever see that, Andrew?
Yeah, I love Star Wars.
Luke Skywalker cuts open like what would be like a
No, it was
camel.
Han Solo.
Han Solo.
Or Han Solo, sorry.
Yeah.
Cuts him open and goes in his stomach to sleep to keep warmth on Hoth. So you can do that
Nice.
with Alex in the winter.
Didn't fucking Leonardo
It's like a spacious
DiCaprio
twin.
do that
Yeah, in the bear one?
in the Bear one?
I've never seen it.
Didn't he do that in the Bear?
I don't-
Did anyone see it?
I didn't see Winnie the Pooh.
No.
Leonardo DiCaprio was in it. No.
What?
He cuts
There was an
the Winnie the
episode of Winnie the Pooh where they cut Winnie open and sleep inside him for warmth.
They had
Yeah,
to. It was winter
Piglet had
March
to.
in the cold.
That show's fucking hardcore, man.
Honeyacre Woods gets pretty cold.
He just goes, oh, pod, as they cut him
Winnie
open.
the Pooh's hard as fuck. I gotta rewatch that show.
Oh, man.
Alex, why are we here?
We're here because our friend Tommy came over, and the first things we said to him is, "You want to watch Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island for our podcast?"
And the first thing I said was yes.
Yeah.
Nah.
Nah, he's like, fuck no.
I
I'm
do
not
have a
doing
choice.
that.
Well, no, they said, hey, do you want to watch Scooby-Doo with your friends? I'm like, sure. They're like, hey, can we videotape your reaction to it afterwards and put you on the spot to do a podcast? I said, I guess.
What is your reaction, by the
Sounds
way,
dope.
from when you first saw it to how it is now? Do you think it still
Like as
holds
a
up?
kid?
Do you think it still holds up?
Well, I think it definitely holds up. Growing up, actually, I was quite a big fan of Scooby-Doo. I mean, obviously watching the reruns on the Cartoon Network because I grew up in the States. So
I didn't grow
You
up
guys
in
had
the
it on-
States, but I had a legal satellite.
Me too.
it was on Toonami.
Legal satellite.
Because it was on. I had Boomerang and Cartoon Network, and it was on both.
Same.
So I actually grew up watching the reruns on Cartoon Network, and I was actually a big fan of the show. And it was part of it was the music, and part of it was quite charming. And I was also quite into detective stories and things like that, and it all
Yeah.
kind of worked quite well together. And I remember when this movie came out, it was actually a pretty big deal. I mean, what year did Zombie Island come out?
1999.
98.
99.
99 is the witch's ghost.
Fight.
Ni-
Fight.
So about 6 years old. That's kind of, I think, like the perfect age to first see this movie. Already, you're kind of growing up watching it. At that age, I mean, they were quite open that the hook of this cartoon was going to be the fact that the zombies were real.
Are real.
Yeah, because at this time, everyone was getting bored of like, oh, it's someone in a mask. So they're like, all right, fuck it.
Well, taking it back from the beginning, I mean, obviously you had the first Hanna-Barbera run.
Yeah, in the
and then
60s.
following that, they had, I remember, I don't know if it was before this, I think it was a couple of years before this, they had, where they were all kids. It was like,
Yeah, the pup named Scooby-Doo. They had a
Pup Named
bunch of
Scooby-Doo.
like one-off cartoons that were kind of like the original. And then the mid-80s, they had Pup Named Scooby-Doo. And then they had those 3 movies.
I
in the
love that
80s.
show, by the way.
And Pup Named Scooby-Doo, I think, was pretty well received. I think he did well.
I love that show. I used to watch like
Hey,
that all
you
the
ever-
time.
Have you watched it recently?
No, why?
Like every time they cut between scenes, it just shows the scene starting, and then the background singers are just like Scooby-Doo, doo, doo, doo.
Yeah,
I love that show.
it's really good. Like I think there's, if you were to think of like what's probably the weakest like are they a series or are they
What?
like a pup named Scooby Doo? Would
It's
you
a
call
TV show.
Yeah, but would you like separate them or would
You
you
thought it was
like
like a real life.
no.
Separated from what?
I love those like real unsolved mysteries, America's Most
saying-
Wanted, Pup
Puppet-
Named Scooby-Doo.
He's saying, is it like canon to the?
Yeah, it's canon. It's
They're
a
all
prequel,
okay.
prequel series.
All right, that's what I was trying to say. Was
That's where
like,
they introduced Coolsville, I think.
Yeah, and that's where you first find out what Shaggy's real name is. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Mel-
what is it?
Norville?
Marvel,
yeah, that's
Marvel. That's what it was.
Marvel.
No, it's Norville.
Yeah. Norville.
What?
Orville
Melvin.
Redenbacher.
Yeah, you made popcorn.
Now, from what I understand, I believe that show was well received and popular. And I
Well,
think
because
it
at the
had done
time
all right.
they came out with that, Flintstone Kids, and then Muppet Babies was there. Looney Tunes had their babies, and I think
Yep.
Pup Named Scooby-Doo was the only one people liked.
Yeah.
Did you
Muppet
say-
Babies did good though.
Did
but-
you say Flintstones?
Did I? The Flintstones Kids.
Windows Kids.
I love the
Flintstones
Flintstones Kids though.
I never seen that.
It's fucking funny as fuck.
But anyway, so I mean, obviously, Cartoon Network. I mean, I believe it was still probably owned by Hanna-Barbera. I probably should have looked this up before doing the podcast. But I would
Okay, so
imagine.
No,
Turner Media bought Hanna-Barbera, like all the cartoon rights in the early '90s when they made Cartoon Network. That's how Cartoon Network was made.
But now Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network both share the rights to it, I think now, right?
Well, Hanna-Barbera is still like the name of the company, but Warner Bros. Owns it.
Yeah. That's what I was like.
But yeah, so when Cartoon Network started, they didn't have any rights to cartoons, so they just bought a bunch of like old ones.
So, I mean, if you're in the 90s, you're taking a pretty big chance, I think. I mean, obviously, you got this old, dusty show that used to be a phenomenon that's kind of going stale. What do? You reinvigorate with this big twist. And funny enough, I think if you were to show this with the... if they hadn't broadcasted it, I don't think it would have been as popular as it actually was. I think it was probably a smart move from them. But obviously, it was ruined for everybody going into it because that's what created all the hype was the fact that the monsters were going to be real in this one.
Which is funny because
they didn't bury that lead at all. Like that was right there in the front. That was the big thing. That was the novelty.
And this one was actually fucking scary. Like as a 6-year-old, like you said when we watched it.
So, yeah.
Well, the animations are like you get to see every single detail of like when zombies like get reanimated from skeletons to be their like corpse zombies.
This was the first time Scooby-Doo like animation was not highly detailed, but pretty detailed.
It's not even Scooby-Doo animation; it's Mook Animation that did the whole detail. The
Scooby-Doo animation as a company. I just mean like a Scooby-Doo cartoon had this much detail in their cartoon.
Scooby-Doo animation incorporated.
It's my favorite.
Mystery Inc. Incorporated animation studio.
But what I was gonna say before was that like it's funny how they were trying to advertise as like the monsters are real, but there's several episodes of Scooby-Doo where monsters were in fact real.
Yeah, 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
Not just that, like even the old school originals. If you've watched like a lot of like the Halloween specials, like where they're trick or treating.
What old school originals? Because there was no real ones in the 60s.
In A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, there was actually a Halloween special where they went trick or treating and the monsters were hiding as trick or treaters, and that was like the plot of the.
Now, are we sure that came out before this movie?
Yes, it was.
Pup Named Scooby-Doo was mid-80s.
There was another.
Was it really? It's that old?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There was another one where it was Scooby. I don't know what the episode's called exactly, but it was Scooby-Doo, and it was like they were the Yeti or something like that. And it turns out the Yeti was in fact real in that episode.
Well, that's not a monster. That's just fact.
The Yeti's real.
Yeti's just a mammal.
It's still a mythical creature.
Actually, yeah, I believe there is a Yeti. I believe he lives somewhere on Forest Glade, as a matter of fact. I think I'm actually sitting right next to him right now.
I haven't lived in Forest Glade in like 10 years, Tommy.
You literally still live in Forest Glade.
You live 2 streets outside of Forest.
Outside of Forest.
That's still Forest Glade.
That's still
man.
Forest Glade.
You haven't passed the Tecumseh sign, man.
Anything before Banwell.
No,
Yeah.
Banwell boy. Banwell for
You're
life.
not on Banwell. And
Yeah.
what are you talking about? I'm a Banwell boy. Banwell for life.
I'm a dox
then, I mean,
myself right now. In
When
front of
it comes to
everybody.
the actual canon of Scooby-Doo, I mean, maybe you guys can
I know quite a bit about Scooby-Doo.
let me know. I mean, all those old ones with like Don Knotts and Adam West and all those, are those technically like, what's actually the canon as it stands right now?
Everything's canon.
Everything's canon right now.
I think besides some of the newer cartoons, like I don't think What's New Scooby-Doo. Is that the good one? What's New?
There's Mystery Incorporated.
Mystery Incorporated. I don't think
Yeah.
that's canon. I don't
Scooby-Doo.
think.
We're coming after you.
The Simple
We're
Plan
gonna
one?
solve a mystery.
That's the one Tommy's talking about. Or no, that's the one before the one Tommy's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one Tommy's talking about was where they like tried to reinvent it again and gave it more serious plots and stuff. Like,
Yeah, which was a
The
very
way you were
interesting
explaining
take.
it sounded really badass.
Well, and that can actually make for its own podcast, like a whole Mystery Incorporated. Because again, I'm a big Scooby-Doo fan. I mean, as big as, well, maybe not as big as you, but certainly
fan
not
of
as big
them.
as you. But
Wow.
the mystery. The mystery.
Scooby-Doo fan, Alex.
I was
Yeah,
quite a big Scooby-Doo
I don't
fan.
watch a whole lot of Scooby-Doo. So what were we talking about?
Mystery Incorporated was a very good show, and the way that we were talking about it, yeah. And I mean, again, I feel like it goes through
He's
these
gonna kill
waves of trying to breathe fresh air into it, and then obviously this was a bit of a novelty take, and that's sort of, I guess, what the point that I'm trying to make. It was as much of a novelty as it turns out that it actually was. It actually made for a pretty good movie, and I think.
Did you ever watch the other two?
No, I haven't.
Because they kept with this idea for like, I don't know, when Scooby-Doo does like animated movies, they usually do like 3.
Right.
And they did, you've probably seen The Witch's Ghost. That one was pretty popular on Cartoon Network too.
I mean, I'm sure if I was 6, 7 years old as these movies were coming
Yeah,
out,
that
I'm
one
sure I
just
watched
came
them
out
at
the year
time.
after.
Wasn't
this.
the sequel after?
But this one made the biggest impression. Now, why
Yeah.
that is, I can't. Maybe because it was the first one. I can't
Yeah.
say for sure.
It was because like after how they got the feedback from this movie and how people were genuinely actually scared. Like this is still like a kids movie, right? But kids were actually like genuinely afraid to watch this movie because of like how detailed like and how dark and gritty it got. It was just like they were like, okay, we can make Scooby-Doo movies, but we kind of like still have to remember this is a kids movie and we have to make it like tone. We have to like take it back a bit. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that was kind of the great thing about the 90s. I mean, the 90s, whether it's 90s comics, 90s cartoons, I feel like a lot of studios were taking a lot of chances at the time.
Yeah.
And that had some great successes. I mean, obviously I'm thinking more of comics wise, but even in things like this, you had these great successes where they, breathe fresh.
Well, even Cartoon
Fresh
Network in
air.
general. Look at all the chances they took there. You got Powerpuff Girls was weird. Fucking
Johnny
Iron
Bravo.
Weasel, Johnny Bravo.
The golden age, man. That was
Count
Like
Chicken.
early Cartoon Network like lived in the 90s and it was all
And I
fucking
mean, and,
weird stuff.
we remember all the classic ones. Now, there's a lot of shitty movies. I mean, I can't even remember them all now.
Scooby-Doo ones?
No, just of like those.
Cartoon Network in general.
Just in the 90s, yeah, these institutions that were making these sort of experimental novelty things, trying to change the game and stuff like that. I mean, it resulted in a lot of flops.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you get these great little, things that came out of it. And, this is a great example of that.
Yeah.
It's sad that like Cartoon Network still comes out with great shows. Some of them are done now. Like I watched Adventure. I was like kind of against Adventure Time. I started watching it and I was like, this is actually a great show. And
I watched the first few seasons of it.
I blew my mind how many seasons there actually are. I was like,
Didn't it just end like 2 years ago?
Yeah, I was like, holy crap! It's been going for like 12 seasons. I was like, I had no idea. That's done now. Regular Shows was a really funny show. I love watching that. Yeah,
I never watched it like in order, but I would catch it if it.
But I feel like cartoons nowadays just lack the luster that it used to back then. Because back when we were kids, we had like.
You gotta think we're not kids anymore, so we don't get mesmerized by
That's
the
true.
newer cartoons. And then in our adulthood, they'll be like, oh, remember that cartoon? And you still like it.
Yeah, I get that. But there's new kids, and new kids like what are new kids like even watching? Do kids even care about cartoons nowadays?
Well, that's what I'm telling you. They like the new cartoons.
It's also, I think it's more difficult to be like a cartoon studio though, because like, why would anybody watch cartoons when you can just watch porn on the internet for free? Who the fuck, who gives a shit about
Alex
cartoons
watches
anymore?
cartoon porn on the internet for free.
Can we go with one podcast and don't mention that? I think we've gone through every podcast. We could be watching Up, and you're like,
What, you watch Rule 34 of Up?
no, but I'm just saying every podcast.
With the balloons?
He's always brought up that
Fill me up like a balloon.
He's always brought up that I like to look at like cartoon porn every episode.
You want to keep talking about it?
No, I don't. But I'm just like wondering. Can we go?
Let's dive into that real quick.
So about that Velma.
Oh god.
So, I mean, the point was that, I mean, obviously there were some. Frankly, I think that a lot of the times you can't get caught up saying that, like, oh, things were better when we were kids and things like that. And, the kids these days, the cartoons aren't quite as good. But I do really realistically think, I mean, especially when you consider how many of these people that were creating these shows, like you said, when Cartoon Network was first starting off, you had like Seth MacFarlane, like a young Seth MacFarlane, and all these guys that went on to be these extremely successful adult animated, not adult like ATSO, like adult cartoons, like adult like mature audience cartoons.
Like Family Guy,
and American Dad, and a lot of them went on to write for The Simpsons, things like that. Sam Simon, who was famously for The Simpsons, and he got involved in all that. There was a bit of a cartoon renaissance, and I think that wasn't really
Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, just all that stuff in the 90s.
Yeah,
it was
like,
all new.
I don't think anybody could argue that there was a bit of a renaissance then. I mean, whether or not that's happened again, we're kind of out of the generation to really appreciate it. But I think anybody could admit that the 90s was a great time for cartoons, and this is just one of the great examples of that.
Because that was the time where, like, if you look back at the 80s and 70s in North America compared to Japan, you can see that Japan was doing some crazy shit with animation. But in North America, we get good shows like He-Man, but the animation's kind of shitty and lazy.
Well, and exactly. I mean, that's why you get guys who were like Bruce Timm, Sam Simon, all these guys that were coming out of that old factory mentality of making cartoons. They were dissatisfied with the studio system at the time. They said, we want to get out and want to make cartoons that we want to watch.
Yeah, exactly.
The ones that we grew up...
people to take seriously.
Exactly, yeah, because they grew up on, like, when you look at the old Fleischer Popeye, the old Fleischer Superman, all those classic cartoons, all the old Tom and Jerry cartoons. They wanted to recreate something in that style, and it had kind of gone stale up to that point. And then it was very much reinvigorated in the 90s. And I think that train carried on for years and years, and is still continuing to this day.
Look at the Smurfs and look at Batman the Animated Series. Those are 1 year apart. When the Smurfs ended and Batman started, that's 1 year apart.
It really made a big leap from like stale cartoons like He-Man and G.I. Joe and like Smurfs.
Like they're good cartoons, like story-wise.
But then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we need to step up our game. And the 90s was like...
I think Batman really started that for the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That was one of the big
Batman
ones.
came out like early 92.
Batman, The Simpsons, I think, was another big...
Simpsons looked like shit when it came out.
It did, yeah, but I mean, just...
Like for like taking cartoons seriously.
Yeah,
and
exactly, yeah.
Because no one's did that since like the Flintstones.
Exactly.
And it was like... that time, it was like the same time when I was watching like anime too. Like Toonami was like airing like all these like when every time I think back when I was like,
but
yeah. But every time I think back to when I was a kid at 8 years old, like what do you think about what you did every Friday? You watched like Cartoon Network Friday night, like
Nickelodeon, Snick,
exactly.
Disney Channel usually has some good shit on.
It just felt like they had more passion for these sorts of things, and it's just...
Well, I mean, to be fair though, all those old Toonami shows, I think they were all from the 80s.
They're all from the 80s. Like Dragon Ball Z came out in like 88.
Hakusho, yeah.
Which is kind of funny because like those came out when our cartoons were shit looking. And then they don't show us them for like 12 years.
I mean, but they were all coming out. I mean, the important thing is they were all coming out at the same time for us. I mean, this whole new generation of animators that are making all these shows like Gravity Falls and Adventure Time and regular shows.
That was a great show.
They were all raised on
that era.
These 90s things. So now you're seeing the next generation all based in, and things like this. And, even like Mystery Incorporated, Gravity Falls was sort of darker, deeper, more slightly mature compared
Like, still
relatively
for
for
a
a cartoon.
kid. Yeah.
It comes from things like this when they started taking the subject matter slightly more seriously. Then it's just a guy in like a scuba suit
Yeah.
trying to get real estate or like something like that. And then and then they parody that and they lampoon this quite a bit in the show. I mean,
They make fun of a lot of things in this movie.
same as a live action movie. They're very self-referential for the history, and that's another reason that I think this is a bit timeless, is that they don't just make fun of it. They don't just like make fun of it and throw it aside. They sort of homage the fact that there is this legacy
We know
of this
we've
cartoon.
been like that, and we're
now we're
trying
trying to change it a bit to be taken more seriously. And as you can see, even from some of these pictures that we have up now, they didn't fuck around. They went for it.
This is what done by the pirates, like these ones right
This one
here.
right here, Alex?
Yeah, that's
Andrew, you
done
wanna show
by.
this?
They brought in a Japanese animation company, Mook Animation.
Yeah, the whole animation team on this was all animators.
They worked. I looked at their work, and they done like Men in Black. You know how detailed Men in
Yeah,
Black
yeah,
is.
yeah.
They did that. They did pretty much all the really detailed like animes.
Didn't they do Extreme Ghostbusters? Because they also
it was
did Men in
Extreme
Black.
Ghostbusters, the Godzilla animated series.
Yeah, because those were all looked the same style.
Exactly, it's the same style, and it was all by Mook Animation. So it was like they were doing like their own like kind of like we need to They were trying to bring in Japanese animation into the Western audience to be like
Because they saw how good they were at detail. Because 90s anime, I don't care what anyone says about anime these days, I love 90s anime. Like the detail, like you go look back, like Cowboy Bebop or fucking
Would you say Akira? What year?
Akira came
That
out.
was like 85.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
no, it
that's
came
not-
out the same year as. No, I'm thinking of something. It came out in '88 though.
Okay.
But like that movie, like just look at the detail in that. Compare, like I said, He-Man. It was out the
Yeah.
same fucking time.
Now, what was it? I mean, I know that at the time where American studios, and not to get too into the depths, I mean, we can change the topic if this is too dry, but I mean, I believe that they were shipping most of their animation.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was saying domestic, or were they shipping it abroad to go be done?
Well, I think like Filmation, like that did all those like really cheap looking shows. They did it here, and then like but like Smurfs, I'm pretty sure might have, or they just, there was a lot of people in like France, I think, that they would ship it to, but most people were shipping their animation to get be done somewhere else.
Right. So
Like
it was
even
almost,
the Simpsons at some point were shipping it to Japan for them to do it.
So it was almost done in more of like almost like a factory line sort of sweatshop
Yeah.
mentality. I remember Bruce Timm talking about that as well. He said that there was just less opportunities for storyboard artists to get involved in the minutia of planning out scenes. It'd just be like, okay, here Optimus Prime is going to talk to, I don't watch Transformers, I don't know, some other Transformer, and
Shia LaBeouf.
we got to get from A to B. And then it would just show him walking from A to B. When Bruce Timm started getting involved, him guys again like Sam Simon, and many others,
Paul Dini.
Paul Dini, they started realizing that we as storyboard like managers, we can start adding things in the in between. They can start taking the animation itself more seriously. The story, the animation itself can be helping tell the story rather than just being a vehicle for the story to just
as
kind
they're
of
like
move along.
driving there, they could talk a little bit about themselves and build character development, stuff like that.
Whereas in like an 80s or 70s cartoon, just show them driving with like dun dun.
Yeah, just a very stale
Oh yeah,
background.
like a cutscene, like a star fade or
And just
something
show
like
them
that.
like drive away and be like dun, like just stupid.
Well,
music,
we're
dun,
here,
dun.
guys.
Yeah.
We're on our way, Billy.
We're here, Billy. Yeah, it's just like that's boring, but like
Like I'm not talking shit about those shows. I like G.I. Joe. I like
I
Transformers.
never personally like.
I like
watched
G.I. Joe.
It was a bit before my time, so I mean, I maybe don't appreciate it
To
as
be
much
fair,
as
I
some-
never watched it till like recently. And I like it. What are you looking at me for, Andrew? Snarling at me?
He was looking at me too. He was snarling at me. I was
I'm
like,
not
what's going on?
snarling at nobody.
But I mean,
Fuck.
it's just important to.
What's the
I
matter?
think when you're looking at
You see
cartoons,
rats? Rats, Andrew?
Anyways, what were you saying?
One big one.
No, I was
Get a
trying-
gift and he ate
No, I
it.
was trying to do what Scooby did whenever he was like, I hate rats.
Oh, when he was trying to say cats?
Yeah.
yeah, let the record just show that we tried doing this podcast 3 times before this take because Atso just kept saying things that made no sense and I had no idea how to react to them.
That look he just gave you.
I hate you. Call me broad and shit.
Hates you.
But I think it's an important thing to remember that, like, a lot of the guys doing cartoons at the time, they were young, they were restless, they wanted to reinvigorate the medium that they love so much, and
Well, because
again,
like I watched a documentary and a
comes
lot
out in
of
shows like
a
this.
lot of people from Batman and like all those like Renaissance type cartoons that came out in their own eyes, all of them were working on those
Yeah,
shitty 80s ones
yeah.
and they hated it because
Yeah,
like you
exactly.
said, it was like a factory.
yeah, there was zero inspiration. They had no independence to kind of be creative in their own right.
Yeah.
I remember Bruce Timm talking about that on a commentary for Batman the Animated
Yeah,
Series.
yeah.
It's one of the reasons he wanted to get out of that because he felt he had no creativity, and it's the same thing that you got actually, as a matter of fact, back in the golden age of comic books as well. Like guys like Jack Kirby,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. Like they used to
They were
just have to
starting-
like they were just like copying and tracing like old comics, and you get that in any sort of industry when you have these guys that are sort of on this sort of factory mindset. Eventually, you're going to have this breakout where people they have stories that they want to tell. They're inspired. They want to tell these stories.
That's literally how Marvel and DC were created.
Exactly, yeah,
like
and you're going to get these
modern age.
renaissances that happen, like the cartoons in the '90s, or the comics in the '30s or in the '60s, or in the '90s as well. I mean, the '90s was a great time for a lot of that. You had that sort of rapid.
They were just putting anything out, and then
In the '80s, it was just
Yeah.
it was like that sort of capitalistic, just
Reagan era.
sell it out. Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break though.
And we're back in Basement Video with John, Tom, and Atso. John, tell us a little bit about Scooby-Doo. Woo, woo, woo. Zombie Island.
Scooby-Doo, where are you? Coming at you. What's wrong, Alex?
Alex,
That's
let's
a
hear.
good-
Alex, where's your radio voice?
Yeah, let's hear
Atso,
your
let's hear an
radio
upbeat
voice.
radio announcer.
Look at him. His eyes lit up, but then instantly went down when you asked him.
Come on, I know you got one.
I know you
man.
always had dreams of being some sort of performer.
I had dreams of my friends not making fat jokes with me.
No one
So
just
what's
made
Zombie
a
Island about?
Are you good, Alex? You gonna say something?
Is everyone good here?
Should we take another break?
No, we're good. Lots
Alex-
of the podcasts have weird Alex stares in them.
Yeah, it's okay. Alex, you good, buddy? You need a hug?
Oh, I'm great.
Okay, good.
Say it like Tony the Tiger, and we'll start talking.
That's exactly how.
Right. Anyways,
Tony the Tiger passed out drunk in an alley.
we're fucking great,
He's
bud.
in the tub eating a burger. It's like, Tony, you're on in like 5 minutes. He's just like,
I can't make it.
It used to be about the Kellogg's, man. It used to be about the flakes. What happened to you, man?
everyone's eating like fucking Captain
Get
now.
the stupid leprechaun to do your dirty work.
He has a gun to his head. It's not great.
Jesus.
Andrew, like that.
They're like, where's Tony? He's gone.
That sounds like a cutscene in Family Guy.
Yeah, kind of.
There's probably several cuts of like just like, Peter, remember the time when Tony took his own life?
Are you imitating yourself? That's how. Because remember how we were just saying that's how we imitate you. I'm not saying that's how you sound. Just go on. I'm not saying that.
Oh god.
Fuck, you're shooting for the stars today.
What do you mean? You're gonna send him to the stars?
No, it went over his
Pretend
head.
the airplanes in the night skies are like shooting stars.
We're gonna get copyrighted.
Yeah, because you're so good.
You sound just like the people.
We can't have that, Alex.
All right, so John, what's give me a rundown. What's Zombie Island all about?
Yeah, none of them are in the gang anymore.
So where do we find our 5 main protagonists at the beginning of Zombie Island?
I'm in the show too.
Are you in the show?
In this podcast, yeah. It's not just you guys. I know you guys have good chemistry, but like, listen, I'm not.
Someone getting a little
wheel.
jealous over there, buddy.
Okay, guys,
Okay,
work it out. Work it
All right,
out.
Alex, I'll say where Velma and Fred are, and Daphne, you can say where Shaggy and Scooby are, okay? Will that make you feel
Oh
good?
yes.
What, are you the fucking giant from
That's
fucking...
Tell us where are we at the beginning of Zombie Island? What's happened so far in the universe of the show? Where are all our characters? at
Tommy,
the
I'm in
beginning?
the show too.
Tommy, what the fuck,
Can we
guys?
go for another break?
No, what?
No,
Like,
I'm
seriously?
joking.
Listen, can
I'm
you
joking.
just jerk us both off while we're talking? Okay.
Alex,
That's why
what the
that's
fuck?
why I'm sitting in the middle.
He wants to ski, bro.
Rub Alex's ego real quick so we can continue the video.
So you're my best friend.
Listen,
out of
I'm
all
not
my friends.
okay. Listen,
Fuck John.
Yeah.
He probably
don't
wants to.
don't just say shit that I want to hear. Okay, I get it.
You
that you guys
wanna
have good
fuck John?
chemistry together. Fuck.
God.
Are you gonna cry? If you have to cry again, we can pause.
Anyway, so at the beginning of this movie, you find fucking... Daphne is a talk show host, but she's ironically on someone else's talk show talking about what she wants to do in her next tour.
Another news reporter.
A very cheap Oprah impression.
Yeah, pretty
I don't know where they got that one.
Jeepers.
Almost insulting in a
Yeah,
way.
that's what I thought too, to be honest, when I watched it. But yeah, so she's on there talking about how she's gonna go on a haunted tour kind of thing to try to find some real ghosts, because they were talking about how they never found anything. It was just stupid people, like you said earlier, trying to get like tax fraud or something.
No, it's all land
The real
deals and real
monsters are
estate
just
schemes.
old, depressed people trying to collect fraud, tax money fraud.
Maybe the real monsters was the friends we met along the way. So no, this is something me and Atso were confused about at the very beginning.
We were
right
like,
from
are
the
they
get-go.
dating or
Our
not?
friend Daphne dating at the beginning of this.
It
I know
kinda
you had
seems
said
like
something about-
friend-zoned or like awkward shit going on.
Because they don't really explain what the relationship. Obviously, they're partners. He's the cameraman and she's the.
Yeah. And now he's her
The
producer
talent.
on her show, they say.
But what if he's just a cuck?
No, we've already established that he's into traps. Okay.
Daphne's just getting railed by monsters every episode.
Yeah, and he's just
We
sitting
need
in
to
the
find a
corner.
bigger ghost, Daphne.
What is this? Some fucking...
You call that a ghost? I want a bull.
He's just in the corner, Scooby-Doo.
Oh my god.
What's that they say in pup named Scooby-Doo? What's the little...
Scooby-Doo.
You guys watched way too much like Brazzers porn. Like,
Nope.
Jesus.
What the fuck happens on browsers? That's those Scooby-Doo.
They do
and
like
Fred.
they do like reality stuff like that, or like they do like cosplay stuff, and it's just really like specific. Like
You're the one who knows a bunch about the browsers
Yeah.
porn.
Yeah.
You're explaining it
I like
to
you
him.
None of
didn't
us-
watch too much, then you went into in-depth
He's like,
browser's information.
No, man.
Is browser's even a website anymore?
Season 1, episode 5.
Scooby-Doo, where's your pool?
I used to date a girl who gave me a Brazzers account, and then
Alex, let's not get into one of your crazy stories on this podcast.
I wouldn't mind hearing where the story led up.
Why
no,
would
like long story.
Ideally, it hopes with that, so just
I love
sad.
Alex's crazy stories. What do you mean?
Yeah, but
What's
they're
wrong?
always end up with him being like, why did I talk about that on the internet?
Well, no, it's just
It's
long
okay.
story short. I met a girl. She liked me enough, and she was like, "Do you want a Brazzers account?" I was like, "Sure." And then when we broke up, she just took the account away. I was like, "Well, that was fun for."
Now,
a
was
good
this a
one."
real woman that you met in real life?
Yeah, she was a real woman online.
Are you sure this was a woman? Did you actually hear her voice?
Yeah.
She wasn't.
That means no.
Are you sure she wasn't?
Listen,
some
all
Russian
I cared
man?
is that I got free porn out of it. Okay.
Yeah,
How much
I
free
mean,
porn did you have to make yourself in order to get this browser's account?
How many dick pics you sent?
That's a good point.
I don't send dick pics. I don't.
Just
no
tits.
dip pics, dick.
Dip pics. Yo,
Dipsticks?
yo, I'm about to double dip it.
He's just dipping
you
salsa.
got Dunkaroo ice in your belly button, dipping your dick in it.
Whoops! I spilled some icing on me, babe.
Okay, so it's
My
established.
OnlyFans is
No. please.
What's your OnlyFans, Alex Gilliga?
a double dipper 2000.
So it's established that Daphne and Fred Jones are
Just
partners.
gonna go right back in.
He's over that. He can't handle it.
Are partners, but there's no actual romantic tension.
No, it
at
doesn't
the
seem like
beginning,
it.
not-
But
not
through the
necessarily.
movie, it seems like Daphne wants there to be.
And it's also sort of established right from the get-go that Daphne and Fred are the obvious skeptics of the group.
Yeah, yeah.
That their whole sort of shtick is the fact that they go out and they prove that these.
Well, because they went out and
Ghosts
saw
and stuff
nothing
aren't
for
real.
so long.
Which, by the way, I love the soundtrack of this movie.
I was gonna
Very,
say
very
I
good.
hated that part.
Really? Are you really?
Yeah,
No
the
way.
one song that pissed me off. This is the only scene. When they leave the market going to their house, it just sounds like a cheap, like fucking made-for-TV family going
Yeah.
on vacation song.
I'm talking about the band that was in this movie that had.
No,
just-
yeah, that music.
Well,
was good.
they
I'm
have
talking
the-
about, like the score.
They have that one theme song, yeah, that comes out when they're getting chased. I mean, we're
Showing
jumping ahead
the
now, but
classics.
when they're getting jumped.
They get jumped. When that?
Shaggy and Scooby are like,
We're coming back for you, Daphne.
How do we end up in New Orleans? Just getting laid on Southern Hospitality, just playing in the
You
background.
want some beads, Velma?
Throw them bows.
Reggie, they took my car.
But yeah, I mean, we're jumping ahead here later on, but there's a couple of original song pieces in here, which I appreciate. I mean, of course, they're kind of cheesy in 90s.
Yeah.
But the fact that, they were sort of homaging again the fact that, the 60s show. Axel, can you get off your phone?
I was just sorry.
You texting bitches again?
No, I was wondering what the band.
By the
was
way,
called.
you
It's
took that browser's account from me. You think I could get that back?
No, I was
I just
looking up.
remembered that.
I was just really quick looking up what the band was called, and they're called Sky Cycle. That's the made the song. Like it's Terror Time Again.
Terror, time again.
We were both
Who's Tara?
digging that pretty hard, singing it together.
Well, not just it's just a really awesome song, and I think a lot of people like. That was like the thing they played for every commercial was like just Terror Time
Yeah.
Again, and it hooked people in.
Well, as I seen them sort of bring back that sort of kitschy, sticky, there's a new
Sticky Icky.
there's a new original song for every episode, and I was actually quite happy to see that. I mean, the quality of the song, regardless, I thought that was kind of a neat idea. But the fact
Yeah.
was, the song was decent enough for the purpose of
Yeah.
the movie. I thought it was fun. Okay, so
That's
Fred,
what they are.
Fred, Daphne, the two skeptics, and they have this sort of debunking sort of ghost
Talk show.
talk, show where they go around debunking
Velma owns
haunted
like
houses.
her own like bookstore. Of, like,
Oh, we're done
supernatural-
talking about Fred and Daphne.
We were establishing where they were.
You don't like
So
Velma?
where's Velma right at the beginning?
She owns like her own store that sells like supernatural stuff or fictional writing stories and stuff like just like. And then she was just like kind of like bored with it. Like everyone just seems to be
Oh, it's
bored.
funny. Did you see the trailer for the new Ghostbusters?
No.
Because that's literally what Dan Aykroyd's character is doing when they call him in the trailer. He's just working at a supernatural bookstore.
I feel like that's what Dan Aykroyd is actually doing in real life right now. You know what the crazy thing about Dan Aykroyd was? He actually, like, a lot of that came from real life.
Yeah,
whole
because
family
his
is into-
grandfather
yeah.
and
His
his
whole family's
dad
into
were
that kind of stuff.
what's it called? Exorcists, exorcisers.
Exorcist.
Well,
Yeah.
only a priest, I think, can be an exorcist. but-
They're exercise.
They did like a bunch of the rituals.
Well, like they started like cheap gyms that like people
Yeah,
can go
yeah.
to.
No,
They're
no.
exercisers.
Yeah.
More like Richard Simmons.
You remember that gym from Halloween Town with all the ghosts and shit? That's where Dan Aykroyd's family worked.
They did a lot of jazzercise videos back in the 90s. It was sick.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, she's in the bookstore.
So anyway, so she owns a bookstore, and she's obviously sort of the opposite. She seems to, as far as I can.
What you think is? Don't you think that's weird? She's kind of like the scientific one, and she's the one that believes too.
Well, I think that's kind of cool because it gives her this sort of like Egon
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Ghostbusters kind of like
Yeah.
thing that she's, you know, Daphne and Fred are obviously very competent and they're the skeptics. She's very competent and she's sort of the believer. 'Cause then you have Shaggy and Scooby who also believe in ghosts and things like, but that's because they're, you know, it's because they're
They're dumb.
a bunch of fucking pussies.
Yeah,
But-
they're just scared of anything. What?
Even though they're scaredy cats, at least they like go through all the shit that we probably would never even like. Yeah,
Yeah, because they're baked out of their mind. They're trying to find sandwiches.
Hell yeah, bro. That's the only way you can get them to do shit. You're like, bro, you
Even the real job
Andrew, are
they
you
have.
Shaggy?
real life Shaggy over here, bro.
Andrew's watching Scooby-Doo just be like, fuck, that sandwich looks
They
delicious.
stole my likeness, bro.
it literally is.
Me and
him.
my dog are just there like, bro, what the fuck?
Can you please wear a green shirt and just what did he have? It was just green
Brown
shirt,
pants.
brown pants.
Well, they even go on to show in the actual job they have, working for an airport customs, like
Yeah, customs. Pre 9/11.
pre 9/11. Yeah, clearly before the trade towers went down, the main
my
contraband was just meat and cheese. That was the main thing. They had.
Provolone and gorgonzola.
That were all being.
Saved you, gorgonzola, bro.
And apparently, it was easy enough to work out of the TSA that you could just
Bring your
eat all the
dog.
contraband and work there with your
and
dog,
dress him like a TSA.
baked out of your goddamn
Well,
mind.
maybe Scooby did some extra training like in his time off, and that's how he
Like,
got
this
the
dog
job.
can fucking talk, kinda.
And he can half talk, so like let him have the job. And they're like, good enough for me.
Does anyone even acknowledge that that dog can talk besides Shaggy?
They all talk to him.
They all talk. Yeah.
And no one's like surprised or amazed by
And
that.
that's kind of an interesting thing. Did you find that Scooby's voice was kind of odd?
It's different voice actor. I told you they had a whole completely
The
different
only
voice.
person that's the same in this movie,
Fred.
and the same in every, it's been Frank Welker since the original
Yeah.
series, and he's still done all of them besides the newer movie where
This
Zac
mo-
Efron did Fred.
Really?
This movie, if you say at the end of the credits, is to like they had a tribute to the original voice actor of Scooby-Doo who died the year before this movie came out.
Really?
Yeah. So
And then it was just was it Casey Kasem? Because
No.
he
No.
did Shaggy and Scooby.
Casey Kasem did not do the role of Shaggy. They replaced him because he refused to play Shaggy because they wanted him to do commercial for Burger King, but he's a vegetarian, like a hardcore
so since like
vegetarian.
the '60s when he was Shaggy, Shaggy never ate meat, and then they're like, nah, fuck you. This movie's getting promoted by Burger King, so he didn't voice it anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after he left, they were like, "Okay, we want you back, and we'll make Shaggy vegetarian from now on." And he's like,
Because even if you
Deal.
noticed in this sandwich, I don't know, it didn't look like there was
"No,
meat on
this he eats meat in this
it.
movie."
In this
Yeah.
movie, but that first sandwich they had, there was no meat on it.
No, there was.
What was it? What
Salami.
kind
Yeah,
it was just
there was-
like
there was
lots
a
of.
bunch of
It was a
different
lot of
meat.
red
was
meat.
it gabagool like you?
What?
Fucking gabagool?
You like gabagool?
You guys are making fun of me for making shit that doesn't make any sense, and then you guys are
Gabagool's
going
a fucking
gabagoo,
type
but
of
got
meat.
one of us,
Not
gabagoo.
google gobble, gabagool. It's capicola. It's a type of deli meat.
He had. Andrew, help me out. There was meat on that sandwich.
We're saying that.
Oh, I thought you said there wasn't. Like
I
you're
was asking if there was
gaslighting me or something.
gabagool on it.
I don't know. I didn't even know that's a thing.
Are you gaslighting us now?
Oh fuck.
No, I'm just didn't know that what you guys were talking about. I never even heard of that word before.
Okay, so the bottom line is that when you start off this movie, all the characters have kind of gone in their separate directions.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is kind of what they did for the live action movie. A few
Very
years
much so.
later.
Very much so. Yeah. It almost, in a kind of lot of ways, it actually seems like they played a lot.
It's pretty much a
awful lot of
live
it-
action version of Zombie Island. They're on Spooky Island.
Very much so. Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
I have a question. So like,
I got an answer.
in Spooky Island, Scrappy's there again.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Is Scrappy's Scooby's nephew or the
Yes.
other way around?
Nephew. Yeah.
Because I don't know, but they're like they're different dog breeds, right?
No, they're
Nope.
the same.
He's just a
Okay,
puppy.
Okay.
It's his.
Oh yeah, because puppy power. Yeah. Okay, I remember.
Puppy power.
Here's a
then
good
he
question.
pisses.
How do you feel about Scrappy-Doo?
He's a
I don't know, because like I was a kid like you when we first started watching this. I didn't care.
I always thought that he was fine. You know, that's actually an interesting. Just sidekicks in general. Where do you stand on the sidekick issue?
I don't care to be honest.
Hanso?
I mean, Robin is a
I'm
great
kind of like
side.
your sidekick.
And I mean, like Robin's a great sidekick. It usually depends. You don't want them to be like. I get it that they're kind of like the lightheartedness. They're like the joke of like they're like the they like to make jokes to like in serious situations. But then it's like you don't want them to be like too much. Like I think Scrappy's too much.
But isn't
like he always has a voice in everything.
Isn't technically Shaggy already like a sidekick to Scooby?
Well, technically Scooby before. No, it was called Scooby-Doo. Where Are You? The original show.
Yeah.
So like technically the whole cast is technically a sidekick, even though they're the main characters, and Scooby's kind of the sidekick in the show.
A little bit, yeah. Well, because I always felt maybe I'm just very easily pandered to. Because I mean, the reason I started, I mean, obviously I'm coming more from a comics background. The reason they were introducing sidekicks like that was to get a younger audience.
And that's why I think I like that.
And I actually kind of like that. I remember, like, maybe it's because I was a younger brother. My brother used to dress up as Batman. I dressed up as Robin.
Yeah.
It was like a couple of weeks ago, and fight in the front yard. No, but I mean, I always felt more relatable to sort of the sidekick character.
Especially
whether it was,
comics, like you're going
Bucky
at,
or Robin or
Kid Flash,
Wally West or anything like that. But even things like that, like a pup named Scooby-Doo, or even in the old Power Rangers movie, how the kid becomes the Blue Ranger.
Turbo,
I felt that as a kid.
That wasn't. I actually didn't like that one.
See, and that's when you talk to a lot of adults now who are maybe watching that for the first time. They go like, "Oh, this is just sort of pandering to kids," but at the same time, it's a kids program, so you have to have. I thought that it was cool at the time. Maybe I'm.
That's why
it makes
I
sense,
liked it.
but I think in the Scooby-Doo case, it doesn't work because Scooby-Doo's already what Scrappy was.
Yeah, but you got to remember when Scrappy was introduced, most of the cast was gone. Like after where Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The shows were like it was like Scooby-Doo movie, Scooby and Scrappy movie hour. I don't remember what it was called, but it was just like a long.
Oh yeah,
episode.
what happened? It was like at one point it was.
I'm gonna explain.
Just cut him off. Fuck you.
But yeah, so like I think Daphne.
just shut your fucking hole.
Just in the middle while he's explaining it. What?
What are you talking about? Are you talking about something? What is it?
So yeah, there was like a few shows where it was just Scooby, Scrappy, Shaggy, and like Daphne, and like Fred and Velma weren't there anymore. Like even in 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, it was just Daphne. They introduced that new kid.
You're mixing up Daphne with Velma.
No, I'm not.
Velma is the.
Velma.
Oh,
isn't
Daphne, you're right.
You are idiot. Don't come at me on my fucking show.
Oh my god.
That was a joke, Alex, by the way, before you start crying. But yeah, I wasn't messing up anything.
Because I mean, obviously now, I mean, they reference it in the live action movie, but I mean, was Scrappy well received at first? I don't know.
No, they did that in the live action movie.
He must have been because he was
people
around
hated
for
him.
like 20 years though.
Yeah,
Like,
but everyone hated him.
was yeah.
Well, because you got to think the people that watched Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Let's say they're like 6 in the 60s. 80s come around, late 70s, Scrappy's there, and they're like, who the fuck's this guy?
Yeah. I can
How long did that dumb dog last for?
He wasn't a main character in anything.
Or he was like the
in
country bumpkin cousin.
Like in that.
Wasn't there a bunch of dudes? Wasn't there? A bunch
Yeah,
of,
that's what I was about to say. In the movies part, like I don't remember what it was actually called, but it was like Scooby-Doo movies or whatever. And he met like a girl cousin. He met Scooby Dumb. He met like his.
That's his name, Scooby Dumb.
Yeah, they're all like Scooby something, pretty much.
It's kind of a good like mumble rapper.
Yo, it's Scooby Dumb.
Sorry.
He's the leader of the bunch.
Well, it's not Donkey Kong, but
Scooby Dumb,
Well, they all
not
have
Donkey
Kong
Kong.
in their name. Cranky Kong, Lanky Kong, Donkey Kong. It's like Scooby Doo. Scooby Dumb, Scooby Rum.
Scooby Dumb, Scooby Rum's his drunk uncle. Hey Velma, you're looking pretty good.
Jesus.
Scooby Rum always has a red rocket. What are you looking at me, Alex? Hot content.
so as the show goes on, then I think essentially the crux of it is that they're pulling together a surprise birthday for Daphne. Is that kind of?
They don't mention that till that happens though. It's like Fred calls them all, get them all together, and then they're like, I got a surprise for you. They're like, happy
Holy
birthday.
shit,
I was like,
I
it's her
forgot.
birthday?
Yeah, I forgot it was
She's
her
like,
birthday.
I even forgot it's my birthday. I was like, you didn't tell anyone it was your birthday.
Now, what made them go to New Orleans? What was the reason?
It was. I told you I was there, but it was just they.
You were
so
there?
No, no. We were watching the
Told you I was
movie,
there.
and I told you that it was just a coincidence that they were at a farmer's market.
They just stopped for like food and
Well,
look
because
around.
they have that great montage of them like sort of solving mysteries. And it's got
They're
that
going
song.
nowhere.
And then they were like
Yeah.
talking out loud, like, "Man, I sure wish there was a haunted place somewhere nearby." And this Esmeralda,
I live in a haunted place.
and then Esmeralda comes out. She's just like,
She got away from fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Count. What is his name?
Yeah, Dooku.
Count Dooku. I call him Mr. Frodo for some reason.
You just said like 15 names, and then we both said the actual name. You're like, hey, Mr. Frodo.
I'll never remember his name now at this
We
point.
just told you, Quasimodo.
No, that's the Hunchback, you dumbass.
Yeah, you said that. Oh, you wanted the blonde guy?
Hercules?
Oh, fucking
What
rip
the-
and dip, bud.
Mr. Hellfire, like, you know, he's just
Fucking
like
Ghost Rider just drove by.
Judge.
Nicolas
The
Cage.
bad guy? Are you trying
Yes,
to?
yes.
Yeah, Judge bad guy.
Okay.
Let's just get
What are you
past
even
what you're
ta-
trying
what are you even
What is
talking
your
about?
I
point
called her
here?
Esmeralda, and you guys were like, out of nowhere, just start. I get it. I made a Hunchback of Notre Dame reference.
Yeah,
but
let's
then-
get past it and go to what
Okay.
you're going with.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Hunchback of Scooby Rome.
Hunchback of Motrin drama.
Motrin drama. There's a lot of drama before that.
Anyway, so Joe Cummings is like, "Welcome to the Bayou." And he's
Joe Cummings? His name's Jim.
Jim Cummings.
No, his name is Jim Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good Cummings.
Oh, yeah,
How
I
could
said
you
that
not
on the
remember
Ghostbusters
that?
podcast. That's how I introduced the Jim Bustin' Makes Me Feel Good Cummings.
I can't believe you forgot.
Anyway, he's on a steamboat. He's on a steamboat going do 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 do.
Steamboat fucking Jim.
Exactly. Well, he might as well. It's kind of like he had a
that's fine.
steamboat
Yeah,
before, and they meet Mark Hamill, who was just like this Crocodile Hunter Dundee looking.
That was Mark Hamill?
That was
Yeah,
Mark Hamill.
and like why?
Really?
yeah.
Hey, you want to be the weird crocodile hunter that's in like 2 minutes of this movie?
Who has 3 lines in this entire movie. And then even at the end of the movie, they like he catches the fish and then they fuck him over one last time. They're like, "Fuck you, Crocodile Dundee." The guy does nothing to anybody the whole movie.
Jack's his dad. Oh, it's just Star Wars stuff, you know.
Oh my god! But yeah, it's just like I looked it up. Like Mark Hamill was in this movie.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that too.
And then
You know the main actress from Escape from L.A.?
Yeah,
She's the voice of the main villain lady,
the one that owns
the blonde one.
estate.
Yeah, the one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
and you know what else she voices too? Catwoman from the Batman animated series.
You know, it's funny that other guy was Jim Cummings. I straight up thought that it was. Did you ever see Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Yeah, I did.
What's the name of the guy from the with diabetes from the Wilford Brimley?
Wilford Brimley.
Because you know he plays kind of like a Cajun.
Yeah, he kind of looked like him.
He looks exactly like him, and he sounds exactly. He's a terrible,
At the end,
terrible
they say-
Cajun accent.
Instead, he wanted him to live forever. Like he just wanted to cure his diabetes, so we turned him into a cat.
Not a bad trade, honestly.
Well, Alex, you would know about that. Garfield, no.
I mean,
Low blow, Andrew.
can you imagine everyone turns into werecats and I just start going orange, have stripes?
I hate Mondays.
Fucking Monday.
Oh my god, I'm just extra super lazy too. Just like
Yeah, imagine if you were like that.
Fantasy world.
What? I said imagine. So it's a joke.
Yeah, you're going to the gym now, bro.
Yeah, you're fucking ripped. You're getting
Get
good.
him up.
So was that the idea was that they were all gonna just get together and just get back to their old monster hunting roots, and it just happened.
I think they were going on the tour with her. They thought it'd be good because even the talk show at the beginning was like, "Oh, you gonna get the gang back together?" And Fred's like, "Huzzah!" and calls them all.
What was the inspiration for Velma and Shaggy and Scooby-Doo?
they were all bored
They're
and
just
hated
bored
their
out of
jobs.
minds?
Yeah.
Threesome.
Well, remember Andrew said Fred's a cuck.
Yeah.
Right. So they're all just
I
gonna
want to
rail-
get the dog to fuck her. I want Velma to fuck her. I want Shaggy to fuck her.
Fred's like, I want to see that red rocket. I want to wipe it clean with my
Take her
ass.
to the moon, Scooby.
Ruby, ooh.
Come on, rake her to the moon.
Ree.
Oh, but when I do it, he doesn't laugh like that.
Anyway, so they go to this plantation with like a bunch of like cherry pickers.
Did you? There's nothing. They're
cherry
They're a
pickers.
pepper farm. Remember the hot peppers they put on everything?
Red hot chili peppers.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
red hot chili peppers.
Anthony Kiedis was working on this farm.
Flea, he's just out there slapping
He's naked,
faces.
just helicoptering his cock. That's how they cut them off the plants.
That would hurt. Bro. Peppers are hot.
So when they initially get out there, it's the Moonscar
Island.
Island. 'cause
Moonscar
the pirate,
tissue.
Moonscar
The pirate's name was Moon.
pilot. And
We all kind of just like
they're essentially, I mean, long story short, without spoilers, essentially they were tricked onto this island so that they could be sacrifices. That was kind of essentially the point.
That's how we realized that the people that own the state have been living the last 200 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just
it's really funny
sucking
how
souls
like
out of people.
the movie was like supposed to show like the monsters weren't exactly like the bad guys and that they were like trying to help the gang. And I was when I first watched as a kid, I
They
was
gotta
like,
get better.
what?
The monsters gotta get better.
Yeah.
Carving "get out" onto a kitchen wall doesn't make me like, oh, I should probably get out of here.
If you watch the scene where they're like running from the zombies, Shaggy and Scooby fell from the vine, and a zombie actually fell from. They fell into that hole, and the zombie actually gave them the vine to help climb back up. So it's like
I
there's
noticed
little
that,
hints that like the zombies were actually not hurting them; they're just helping them out. And but it's
Those
funny because
Confederate
like
soldiers are really nice.
Yeah,
guys,
can we take a
usually.
quick pause here just to talk about the touchy, maybe controversial, maybe offensive issue?
controversial.
Maybe
You have
the
official, Tommy? Are you okay?
You got a fish.
maybe the somewhat
on?
disturbing fact of the matter that the good guys at the end of the movie turn out to be a bunch of Confederate zombies.
There's some pirates and some normal guys, but yeah, there's a lot of Confederate
Well,
soldiers.
there was actually
At
just
the end, one salute Scooby-Doo for helping. And that part, I was like, okay, Confederate soldiers, they're zombies, whatever. Then, you're a good dog, Scooby. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
he just says thank you. That's all he does.
Yeah, but when did you ever think that a Confederate soldier would salute Scooby-Doo in modern day?
No, that's normal, isn't it?
I don't know.
Even racists can appreciate a good dog.
I guess.
I was just gonna point out, like, it's funny how they were like trying to make it where the zombies were good guys and like they're not here to hurt anyone. But like the backstory of how these people who first people who lived here were just like enjoying their harvest peacefully, and the pirates came in and forced them to go into the lake where
Yeah, I didn't
crocodiles.
get that part. Was still kind of lazy. They ran everyone on the estate into the water except for me and her, and then we went in this hole and became cat people.
Well, no, the curse was supposed to affect the pirates, but the
Yeah,
pirates
but they didn't realize it made
affects them
like that,
too. Yeah. So they're like, well, we just hawk off her hairballs now. That's just like our.
That'd probably work out for a little. Well, we're.
I mean, so we're jumping a bit forward here. So essentially, what happens as they're perusing through?
oh yeah, they think
and-
it's like the.
Yeah, so
the
they're coming up against as they're going through all these run of the mill
Scooby-Doo shit.
Scooby-Doo shit, yeah. And they keep proving that all these monsters are fake. Then they're at this market in New Orleans in Louisiana, and they're talking about, how they're looking for a new haunted house, new mystery to solve. And they run into Esmeralda, whose actual name in the show is...
Felicia?
Oh, that's definitely not.
That's 100%.
You have it here, Alex.
That sounds
Bah.
like
No, I
it's
have
probably
the
correct, but I
person who
still
owns it first.
don't believe
Simone is the owner, and who? Fuck the other bitch.
it. Whoever the other
She
one
fucked
is.
the other bitch.
Probably.
Nice. Well, Fred was.
That's what you said.
And so essentially what happens is she says, oh, we got an old haunted house. Your gang are invited to come.
I'm
Spend
bad.
the
Nice.
Spend
Hey, you guys like trains?
spend the
Running
night.
train.
Spend the night at this haunted mansion, and once they get there, obviously, of course,
Fred said
Within
it all
5 minutes, Velma's like levitated in the air. Like it's
But Daphne doesn't even give a fuck. She's like, "Is the camera on, Fred?" Daphne just broke.
this is a
both of
great
her legs.
angle from where you're standing, and it's just like
well, they do kind of a good job in the parts leading up to that, as it shows that montage of them going through all the different mysteries that they're solving. They see one that has like a projection that they solve.
Yeah, yeah.
They see one.
With the
Yeah.
mask.
I think there's almost one with like almost something like levitation. They solve that one as well. So
Yeah.
So they're at the point where they're like, fuck it, it's all
yeah,
fake.
we've seen all this shit
Yeah.
before. This is all old news.
Nothing's real.
Yeah.
And
So they
then-
don't buy it. So
Jesus, no.
then, of course, as it goes, Scooby and Shaggy are baked out of their goddamn mind somewhere.
they're
in the,
baked off peppers.
woods.
They just eat. Can I just point out that like this lady who owns the place puts up a lot of shit. If I owned that house and I had to deal with these guys screaming, breaking my jars, eating all my food,
Specifically your
and
jars?
disturbing like my cats, I would not put up with their shit within like
You broke my jaws. You scared my cats. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm most pissed that you broke my jaws. So sacred.
Hey, you busted my jaws.
And busting usually makes me feel good, but not today.
That house must smell so bad though with all those cats there, just cat piss and shit everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure they just clean.
Well, I don't know. They keep it in the house, so it's like I just in general, like you ever been to a cat lady's house? It doesn't smell that great.
How many cat houses have you been to?
In Forest Glade, there's actually a lady 4 houses down. She has like 20 cats in her house and just reeks.
You go there often.
Yeah, how often are
Is
why
that
are
the
you
lady
going
that
over
took
the
your
road?
virginity?
Because my cat was like, she ran. Remember that story I told you where my cat was like
Gone for like 2
she
weeks?
was gone for 2 weeks, and I went. That was like the first place I went was because she does kind of pick up just.
Where's Lily, you bitch?
I went to her house because like she does usually pick up just like stray cats whenever she finds them.
Okay,
Did you
but
also have
why'd
to
you?
solve a mystery at this old lady's house?
No, she kind of like went like just threw cats at me.
You're just explaining a Simpsons episode, Alex.
Did you go there with a machete?
And then me and my sister Lisa went there.
Lisa Simpson's my sister, right?
Anyway, so what happens next in Scooby-Doo?
Let's see. We
You
established.
see why we go off track a lot? Yeah, one time I had this cat, right?
So what do we establish? They ate a lot of peppers. The
No,
ghost.
that's what you were talking about, and then you went off and talked
You
about
went
your
on a
cats.
30-minute tangent
He
about
was talking
jars.
about how he's all high on peppers,
Yeah.
and they went off into they were missing, and they're all high on peppers, and then you went on a tangent about cats. You
So
were
then,
talking.
as per usual, Scooby and Shaggy see the ghost first, and nobody really believes them, as per usual.
'Cause
They
they're
run into
high.
him in the woods, and then it's the pirates at first, right? They're chasing after them, and
It's
then
Moonscar.
Yeah,
The main
Moonscar.
pirate.
Moonscar himself, like, is like the first one to show up.
So then you have that first scene. They hear them yelling. Of course, you have the gardener the whole time, who's sort of the tricks you into thinking he's going to be the bad guy. Of course, you always need that one
Diversion.
diversion, yeah. And so then it leads up to that final reveal. They're all in front of the mystery machine, and they corner that one zombie. They're trying to pull off his mask. And then
Yeah,
it turns out-
Scooby and Shaggy like scream their heads off, and everyone starts like running, and Fred and Velma find them. Fred like suplexes a zombie, and he's like, "It's just a mask. It's the guy in the gardener," and just decapitates the zombie.
It's like Mortal Kombat.
Fatality.
Which is
How could they never come up with a
Isn't Shaggy coming out in the next
Scooby-Doo
one?
Pit Fighter.
that's a joke. That
No,
was-
no, I know. I know it was a joke like before, but I think isn't he supposed to be in actually the next one they
If
announced?
it is, that's actually really cool. I love that people are like getting into like the whole like Shaggy's using Ultra Instinct or whatever.
Where did that come from? When did that become a meme?
So when Dragon Ball
you
Z
do.
had that episode where Ultra Instinct was first announced, there was this one guy, he made this like edit where Shaggy, it was an episode where a word danger, whenever someone says the word danger, Shaggy would like go into this trance, and like a badass version of Shaggy would come out, and he like beat the shit out of like the Hell's Angels or whatever, and some guy took that clip and put the theme song for Ultra Instincts over it, and it like caught on like crazy, and everyone's just like, Shaggy's only using 1% of his power.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
It's kind of funny how like a meme just like becomes like takes a whole life of its own. You know what
Well,
I
that's
mean?
what the definition of a meme is.
Have I ever told you the definition of insanity? I'm going fucking crazy right now.
About this movie, right? This movie's great.
this movie's driving me bananas. Ugh, I could sure go for a Scooby snack break right about now.
That expired one, like Velma carries around.
Yeah.
You remember that
What?
at the beginning?
Is
when
that
she
why
got-
they're
Oh, it's like a
tripping?
cinnamon roll almost, like kind of like.
No, but it's just expired. I carry them around everywhere. It's like too long.
Oh,
Velma.
expired. I thought you said spiral. I was like,
We were talking about that. What do you think a Scooby snack tastes like?
I think it would just probably taste like Cocoa Puffs or something in my head. In my head, it's just like something chocolatey, but it's a dog treat.
Why chocolate? It
Chocolates
doesn't-
kill dogs.
I get that, but it's like I'm not gonna eat dog food. I don't know what dog food
Want
tastes
to hear
like.
a story about the time I ate a whole box of dog treats
I
without
think
knowing?
you've told me this before.
What?
So my parents came home and they bought my dog. This is like in high school. They bought my dog like fancy dog treats, and it came in like an Oreo box. And I opened them. They looked like Oreos, and I ate the whole box.
Are they good?
Like I came home super fucking high, like at night, and they weren't home yet, and I literally ate the whole box. They were good as fuck. I was dipping them in milk. Fucking they were dope. And they get home, they're like, "Oh, did you give Max and Manny any of the treats we got him?" I was like, oh, "Like the normal, yeah, the milk bones." They're like, "No, we got him fancy treats." I was like, "Where? I didn't see any treats." Like, Johnny, did you eat all the fucking dog treats? I was like, "I thought they were fucking Oreos or something."
What did they taste like?
Really good. Like they didn't taste like what it was like. I think someone just baked cookies but made it safe for dogs to eat.
Okay, that's
They had
dope.
like icing in the middle and everything.
I want to try that.
So that's like the real life version is like Shaggy. It's not like a fun like mystery solving like spunky teenager. It's just like this degenerate stoner coming home and eating dog food in his parents' basement.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
Real live action Shaggy.
you got it.
Shaggy ate all the dog food again. Lay off me, Mom. Scooby's been dead for years.
Have those shows have shows that ever made like food like they're like you ever like watch Popeye and just was like I really want to eat spinach.
Popeye
Just-
has a brand of spinach.
yeah, but you ever saw?
Did you see the Reptar bars that came out a few years ago?
No, did they actually
They're like
release
with the
those?
green goo inside and everything.
That's what I was gonna say. Have you ever like saw food that was on a TV show and you're just like it's gotta be delicious in real life?
When I was a little kid, Popeye
Pizza,
was my
Goofy
favorite
movie.
show. Yeah, and pizza. Obviously. Popeye was my favorite show when I started eating spinach raw out of the can. It's still my favorite food. I still
No
eat it.
way.
Did you get really
Tommy
strong?
started eating everything raw since then. Taking it raw,
Big
eating it
time.
raw.
Did you get super strong, dude? Would you eat all that spinach?
No, I basically just got food poisoning.
Tommy,
really
you gotta
terrible
cook it.
diarrhea. That was about it.
No wonder he's
Oh, sick E. coli.
Behind the scenes, Pop is like, I have IBS. I'm too regular, bro. Like, olive oil is just a nickname because that's how my shit comes out.
Yeah, they don't show that part of Popeye. After he beats up Bluto, he just goes and shits blood for 3 hours.
hey, it's good.
I am what a.
Okay.
Too much?
Where are we at this plot now? So they
I don't know.
they
you're talking
did
about
Fred
peppers.
Mortal Kombat decapitated a zombie.
And then the zombie grabs the head and puts it back on.
Yeah,
And then they
Upside
have-
down and then
great,
spins it.
Great scene, really good animation. It was actually
Yeah.
fairly creepy. Like it's not.
There was actually one scene that like I wanted to point out to you, but I was enjoying the movie too much when they were running away from the zombies. There's not just Confederates and like pirate zombies, but there's like tourist zombies.
Yeah.
too.
They've gotten tourists. Yeah.
So there was actually a scene where like there was 2 lady zombies in front of Shaggy and Scooby.
Fraggy.
That's the Fraggle
they
Rock
ran the
version of
opposite.
Shaggy.
They ran the opposite direction, and there was 2 male zombies that were like they're closing in, like about to sandwich them. Shaggy and Scooby run away, and but the camera still focused on these 2 zombies, and there was actually like just a couple of they're couples, like the 2 zombies were actually like couple
Husband and wife on
husband and
vacation.
wives, and then they actually hug each other because they're just so happy to like be holding each other in their arms. I was like, holy shit, I completely
Are you about
missed.
to cry?
Yeah, I'm crying right now, bro.
I'd say they're cuckolds.
Yeah, they're cuckolds.
Everyone,
okay.
they're all cuckolds. That's what I'm talking about.
Why are they all cucks? What the hell? It's weird.
You trying to tell us something, man?
Yeah, dude, you got it.
Bring it up, cuck.
How many times can one guy bring up cucks on a Scooby-Doo podcast?
At least 10.
Completely out of context as well. It came out of nowhere.
The first one was funny.
Yeah,
They're all funny, Andrew. I'm just kidding. I love talking about a good cuck.
everyone does, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scooby snacks, cucks, they go hand in hand.
Secretly awakened a cuckolding fantasy in me, and by watching the Scooby-Doo movie.
I sent Tommy the picture of Alex with the cake all over his face, and he's like, I think that just awoken a deep fantasy I have, or a fetish I have.
Cake fetish?
Oh my
I
god.
should have put it on Facebook and just put the caption, we got Alex a hooker tonight.
Subscribe to Atso's OnlyFans Double Dipper 2000.
It's funny because I put the cake in his face twice, so double dip.
It technically was a double dip.
I never seen you so happy in my entire life.
I never seen
were
you
like-
so happy in my entire life.
Alex had the biggest smile on with cake all over his face.
Well, I was happy because I wanted to make my friends happy. I blew out the
That's the
cat.
saddest thing I've ever fucking heard.
No, I think it's
I'm
sweet.
sorry, I care about you guys. I'll just not
I
care
want to
about
make
your
John happy. Put the cake in my face, John.
Do it.
That's what a good
Call
friend.
me a whore and
I'm
put the
sorry,
cake in my
you've never
face.
been a good friend, but that's what good friends do. You do
Put cake in their face.
Finger my ass while you put a cake in my face.
because I knew it would make you happy.
He's like, cake me, daddy.
I was just feeding it to him, and he was saying.
So anyway, so the animation in that scene is actually quite good. And I thought that was a pretty good reveal of the fact that
They're real. The zombies were real.
going into it, yeah, they did it pretty well. It's all at night.
What do you think, Alex? Do you think it was good?
The cake was pretty good.
No, we're not
no,
talking about the cake. that
not
was
the
on your
cake.
face.
Life's not all about cake.
Some-
Stop fantasizing
Well,
about getting double dipped.
to be honest,
No, don't be honest. Alex has a good point.
life kind of is all about cake. Like, you're born
Life's like a
every
cake.
year on your birthday, you have a cake. When you get married, you have a cake, right? When you have, like,
Cakes at Christmas, Easter.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You have
so,
cakes
like,
for Easter or
every
Christmas?
life, all of, like, the celebrating moments of life.
And you get
there's
a cake when you
you
die.
At
know?
your funeral, they get cake.
So in a way, life is all about cake.
I got a story that's
I was at this funeral.
no, but like Max went to a funeral, but he didn't want to go by himself because it was.
I know the story. Don't say anything.
And so I went there, but I got really bored. So I went in that like the room where people just sit there when they want to be like
the kitchenette area.
Yeah, and there was a box just full of cookies in the fridge, or it was just like kept
you
there.
ate 'em?
And I ate every single one of those cookies. And then Max like, all right, let's head out. I was like, yeah, perfect timing. And then as I'm heading out, the guys that like host the thing were like, man, these guys are really sad. Quick, get the cookies out.
Nice, Alex. That's dope.
I
So
eat
you just
dog
went
treat-
to a wake and you helped yourself to a bunch of cookies in a fridge without asking any questions?
I was with mourning, okay?
You
You
didn't
didn't
know
even know
the
who it
person.
was.
Yeah, you were in boredom. That's what you said.
Let's be honest, that was Max's fault. At the end of the day, I don't even blame Alex. That was completely on Max. I brought Atso suit shopping, which was a huge mistake. You yelled. You know what's the big suit store in Ottawa? Freed's. The guy that owns that, he's like 100 years old. It's Freed.
Yeah.
Alex yelled at him because he doesn't have a public Wi-Fi.
Well, what store doesn't have a Wi-Fi?
Most.
And then I was.
Unless it's like a sit-in store where you stay for a while. There's probably not Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Well, no, and the way that it happened as well, like I was standing in line waiting to like pay. Well, because already Atzo, he was like going there with a little kid. First, he takes all the, like I leave him with my wallet for 2 seconds. Then he's like starts going through my wallet and he's throwing cards all over the floor. He's like, "What's this, Tom? Why do you have like a library card from a town I've never heard of?" It's just like Jesus.
Is
Christ.
this a Blockbuster membership?
So then we're standing in line and I just whispered it because I hate going to suit stores because they're always real pretentious. The guys that work there, they're letting agents. And I go to Atzo, I'm just like, I fucking hate guys that work in suit stores. And Atzo's like,
what? You hate guys that work
you
at
hate
suit
people that work in suit stores. And then this 100-year-old guy comes over to us and he's just like, "Hi, excuse me, gentlemen, I'm the manager of the store. Are you guys having a problem?" And Atzo goes, "Why don't you have public Wi-Fi?"
Why the fuck don't you have public Wi-Fi, man?
What did he say?
He just laughed. We just got out of there. It was like being with like, I don't even know.
You probably can't say what it was.
No, you know what? No, you know when you're like an abused housewife and you just keep making excuses for your husband? It was like that. It was like, "Oh, he doesn't mean it. You just caught him on a bad day."
What's
It
that?
was like Rain Man.
I swear he loves me.
What's that cartoon where it's
Hard
like
day,
literally the premise of the show is this guy is just he hates everything. Fred hates everything. It's like Fred versus like the world or something like that. And it's just like every episode is like he hates a new thing. It's like
Everybody Hates Chris.
no,
Everybody loves Raymond.
it's a cartoon.
Oh, everybody loves Raymond.
No,
Everybody Hates Chris.
never mind.
I don't know what cartoon you're talking about.
Okay,
It's a show called Fred versus the World.
Something-
Thinking of Bart versus the World, the Nintendo game.
no.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Doesn't matter. Let's just skip it.
Everybody hates Chris.
No. Where are we at this movie?
Oh, wait. I know what it is. Everybody Loves Raymond. No.
Hey, Deborah.
Where are we at in this movie?
They got chased. Now we're at the part where they found the secret compartment that's underneath the staircase. But Velma's like, has like spidey sense or whatever. And it's just like, she wasn't dragged here. She walked in her free will. And then she was like, slow cop and just like very observant of
Thelma
you.
took a slow crap.
Clap.
Hell, clap.
And then she like revealed.
She has the clap.
And then she
Come on,
revealed
man.
herself to be a cat girl. And so was
Were you into that, Alex? Because I remember one time I watched Little Vampire with you, and at one point you saw a werewolf, which is a similar.
There
just
was
a
no
cat
werewolf
version.
in that movie.
Well, why'd you say that you'd fuck a werewolf when we watched that movie then?
Because the 6 nipples.
Alex's dad, we're at his house, it's me and my Max. His dad
were
just
talking
walks
ab-
in the house.
we were talking
and
about,
Alex
like,
is like, I'd fuck a werewolf.
My dad just takes a whiskey bottle, just starts walking.
Oh, that's weird. You asked us a classic Alex question out of nowhere. Hey, what classic monster would you like to fuck if it was a girl?
Mummy, obviously.
Mummy.
Like to unwrap that
Yeah,
thing.
obviously.
It's all like
Like a real dusty pussy. Gross.
scarabs would just start crawling out of it.
Yeah, she's got. They don't have crabs back then. They have scarabs.
Yeah. Wolfman, Wolfwoman. That'd be like one of those girls who don't shave their assholes. Is this okay to talk about on the podcast?
I just,
Yeah, we
I
talk
just
about
think
this
like
stuff.
it's kind of cool that they turn into but like cats just
We don't necessarily know that they're called werecats.
that they call. I think they call themselves.
Because usually when people turn into cats in every movie, isn't it just cat people?
no,
Like in
I think they
Sleepwalkers
actually
and
use.
shit like that. They
I
just
think
call them cat
Scooby
people.
and Scooby and Shaggy pretty much just straight up said that they were werecats.
Is that headcanon or real?
I thought they called them pussy people.
Pussy people eater.
No, I don't remember that. But you think for these people who want to like maintain their immortality,
Yeah.
they'd be more serious about like the fact that they have like 1 minute to kill these people and that they have to worry about these zombies. They were like underprepared for this day.
Well, it's pretty easy to suck the life out of someone usually.
That was the thing I wanted to bring up too. Was that this movie, the whole premise of it is based off what's the show
Everybody
called?
Loves Raymond.
No. Go on my notes really quick.
Yeah, Everybody Love Raymond got dark. They start sucking the souls out of people so that they
was
can
a-
Oh, no.
It was like
you
on
give
the-
everybody
life
hates
to a bunch of
Chris.
pussy people.
The premise was an unofficial SWAT Cats episode.
That's a show
That's
I've never
sick.
seen an episode.
SWAT Cats is like really good.
it was just like, because the thing was is like they only had one season and they ended it before they came. They didn't even
It was
like.
one of those things like Hanna-Barbera was doing like those cheap cartoons, like whatever. They pretty much started that, like with then Filmation took over. But then they started just putting out SWAT Cats, and it was really good design. Everything was sick, and then they're like, "No, this is shit."
No.
It's kind of, you say cheap, but then like I'm watching.
No, I'm saying SWAT Cats wasn't cheap. I'm saying they
Oh.
changed their like style kind of, because SWAT Cats, if you look at it, doesn't look like any Hanna-Barbera cartoon really.
Yeah, but the thing, it was just like they used, because the person who wrote that story for SWAT Cats is the same person who did the writing for this movie too. So he was just like,
Who?
I have this guy's name too. That's why I said notes, like leave it there.
Oh, you got. I didn't know you don't have a memory.
Glenn,
over here.
Glenn Leopold. He was the guy who wrote the story for SWAT, the episode of the
It was
Curse
the
of-
Curse of the Cataluna.
Yeah, he wrote that episode, and he wrote Scooby-Doo Zombie. He was like one of the 4 writers that did Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, and so they were like coming up with the premise of like who's gonna be the bad guys and like why and how they're gonna like do this and that. And he was just like, I'm just gonna use one of my ideas, which is pretty much the same thing. It's a Catwoman who sucks the life out of people to maintain her own like youth.
Which is actually a pretty, I mean, for a Scooby-Doo premise, especially in the 90s. I mean, once it got into Mystery Incorporated, it started actually, no pun intended, incorporating more plots like that. But for the time at the 90s, it seems like quite a sort of out there premise for like, especially for a major cartoon that I'm assuming that they were probably banking quite a bit on. The fact that it's like, it has to do with this ancient cult that worshipped like
Cat
cats
god.
and that worshipped like, like a
I thought it
cat
was
god
a,
and
I
all
thought it was
that
that
kind of thing.
I thought it was that Egyptian cat god. I forget what her name was, like Aten or something like that. But no, it was just some random cat.
When it is
god.
funny seeing that, like, because Mystery Incorporated started going into like the Babylonian mythos and all this kind of stuff, and ancient aliens and the Cthulhu mythos and all that kind of stuff, and it almost makes you wonder if that kind of got a bit of a start.
Well, that was the thing. This movie did start a lot of things. It started like the whole like. It started the whole like monsters are going to be real now, because like you said before, all these episodes were just like, oh, the monsters were just old guys trying to like collect tax, like trying to like
Well,
collect.
yeah, like I said, the next 2 movies were on the same line. Like Witch's Ghost, that was real shit.
And the
Remember
UFO
the
and-
UFO one, and
yeah.
then,
And then the
Roswell.
one after that was like the
The
electric.
Cyborg. That wasn't part of this, I don't think. But it was similar because that was real too.
And another thing this movie started was the whole like, how we were like, are they dating Fred and Velma? Like, because they were like acting like, they were getting jealous with each other whenever they hit like the girl or the farm or the gardener or whatever. And ever since this happened, every episode and every show was just about those two having like a love.
I think that was maybe in Puppet Named Scooby-Doo they like had crushes, but this is the first time like people thought they had a relationship, and then in like Mystery Incorporated, obviously they did.
Yeah, they had like a full blown.
And then what's that one after Mystery Incorporated where Shaggy and Velma started dating?
That was in Mystery
Was that
Incorporated.
the same
yeah,
one? Okay,
yeah.
yeah. And then Scooby's just left alone with his rocket,
Yeah.
cucking.
Just cocking.
You like that one, Andrew?
Ew, dude. Why would you make a cuck joke? That's
guess-
fucked.
Scooby-Doo's kind of a pussy person.
Did you guys?
You think
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo eats good pussy?
It's got the
I
tongue.
mean, he was almost gonna bang that Mary Jane girl. He's like, Mary Jane, those are two.
No, that was Shaggy that wanted her.
Yeah,
In the live action?
Mary Jane's also one word, not 2 words, like you were about to say.
What was the joke that he came up with when he first?
When
Okay,
Shaggy met her,
yeah, Shaggy.
that's my favorite name. That's what he says.
I completely like blacked out because I was like,
Which is funny because he's a stoner.
That's
name's
why they
Mary
named her Mary Jane. Did you ever look into what the original script of was, the live action one?
no.
It was supposed to be rated R.
Really?
James Gunn did it, and Velma and Daphne were going to be lesbians, and that's why.
Toof.
You know, in the scene where Velma comes down in like the tight clothes, and the guy's playing the piano, and Daphne is staring at her in that scene, but at the last day, like, we can't put the Scooby-Doo movie out. They put it so she's looking at Fred, but Velma's just coming down too.
That show's actually, that holds up quite well as well.
That movie
that
was
could have
like-
that got a lot of negative.
I love that movie, by the way.
Yeah, that's what.
Great parody of. I mean, it almost does this, but it sort of turns it a degree in the opposite direction and makes it like a full blown like parody of, but they obviously homage the same facts that we were talking about earlier. Whereas this sort of homage that in a bit of a creepier way, in a more authentic kind of way, that turned it the opposite direction, more as like a parody. But it worked quite well. I think the movie's great. I mean, I never saw the second one.
At what point do you guys still watch? Like, you still watch the Scooby-Doo, especially that new, the one that you were talking about, where they were dealing with Cthulhu and stuff.
Well, Mystery Incorporated. I mean, it's not Cthulhu, but I mean, Mystery Incorporated
Isn't new.
is not even that new.
No,
that's like 10 or 15 years old now. I
Yeah.
think, at this point. Now there's all kinds of
Probably
new
like
shows.
3 or 4 since then.
I just like I'm amazed that
And I've heard that the new ones are pretty good
Yeah.
as well.
I am amazed that they're. It's always blows my mind whenever like shows like The Simpsons have been going on for God knows how long, Scooby-Doo's been going on for God knows how long. Like
Ask 'em.
it's like how do you just keep going? It's like kind of like
Scooby-Doo's not continued. It's like 48 shows.
Well, it just goes to show you in a day and age like this where shows like, what's that fucking, like art, like Riverdale, shows like that,
Yeah.
shows that have these sort of, that are revamping all these old cartoons and all these old characters and things like that. And it seems like now more than any time, people are appreciating things like, not to sound too corny, but like deep lore,
Yeah.
taking a
Get
darker
more into
turn,
the
things like that.
overarching storylines. and
I
shit.
mean, Scooby-Doo seems one of those things that are ripe for sort of revamping, that can just continually be revamped. It was revamped in the 80s with
Late
Pup Named
70s,
Scooby-Doo. It was revamped
80s.
in the 90s with this. The movie, even though it had bad reviews, I think it was quite successful.
Yeah.
Then Mystery Incorporated had a huge
Following-
cult success.
following.
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, I think it did. It wasn't.
They play it all the time still on Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Like I don't think it was extremely popular, but yeah, the people that did watch it loved it. And then the new one was quite popular as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously something about the characters works. And I mean, this was, I think, a perfect example of a movie that sort of, took advantage of all the things that this show has to go for. It can get a little dark. I mean, it's like Batman or something like that. I mean, there's a sort of charm to it. It is sort of like for a younger audience, but there's a darkness to it. It doesn't never went over the line.
It's scary enough for kids, but and interesting
Enjoyable
enough
enough for adults. Yeah, exactly. It really walks that, especially this movie more than anything.
Yeah. The Witch's
Walks
Ghost
that
one was
line very
pretty
well.
creepy too. Like I know you guys didn't watch it, but yeah.
I think we've pretty much talked a lot about everything. The only thing I can think of what else that we can add was like the voodoo dolls was kind of interesting. Like if you ever noticed like how they like Velma's like missing a piece of her cloth or whatever.
Yeah, they mentioned that it's like foreshadowing earlier in the movie where she didn't.
And
know what it was.
the voodoo thing is like it's kind of I like it fits in very well with the movie because they're in Louisiana and that's where like all like where voodoo like originates and all that stuff.
Alex, I'm gonna cut you off. You know why? Can you do your best Jack impression from the movie?
Jack?
Yeah, the Jim Cummings character. Pretend you're getting them on the boat.
You get him on the boat. You see a crocodile under you across the water. He's yelling at you because you scared away his big fish.
Oh,
He's got his hunting pig. And what do you yell at this guy back?
it looks like you're having a bad hair day. I don't know. Fuck.
How much hair, Alex? Talking to the mic, Tommy.
Okay, I'm talking to Mike.
Hello.
Sorry.
No, you're good, Alex.
You're good. Everyone's good.
You're having a bad fur day is what I was gonna say.
Yeah, but say it like him.
See here, let's hear it like Jim Cummings.
Yeah.
You gotta be more like
Do
Louisiana.
Wilfred Brimley from Hard Target.
I don't know. Like I'm not good at this on the spot. I usually just like.
Louisiana accent.
Oh,
Like it's down in the bayou. Oh, hey there. I said the bayou, not Alabama.
Same thing. I don't know.
Do it.
Dude, I don't know why. What do
Say
you
the line, Atso.
Say the line, Bart.
Do the thing.
Did you ever see that meme? It's like, do the line, Bart, and there's a line of Coke on his desk.
I don't have anything, guys. I'm
Your
sorry.
best Cajun act. At least do the penguin.
Yeah, for us. Just do the penguin. Tommy loves when you do the penguin. Just do the laugh.
Nice.
Well, leave me alone.
That's archived now on the internet forever.
All
right,
Thank
well,
God.
How many Scooby snacks
I was just
would
gonna
you
say,
give
do you guys
this
have any
movie?
final thoughts before we give
I have
a number?
I have 10 Scooby snacks.
We're not doing Scooby snacks. We're doing how many Confederate soldier heads do you give this movie?
Jesus. No.
Well,
They're the good guys, remember?
Oh, Andrew.
In the movie.
Said by Andrew are not affiliated with Basement Video
in the
Podcast.
They did nothing wrong.
That's
Oh,
not.
they're all
No. I didn't say
They're all
that.
wrong. They're all bad.
I was very impressed rewatching this movie. I remember watching this and loving it as a kid. The fact that it has a lot of reference for the old Scooby-Doo, but it actually paved the way for the next 10 or 15 years of series that were going to be coming out.
Put the foot in the door of a more not realistic, more
Slightly darker, slightly more
Scooby-Doo.
immature. The music was great. The voice acting for Scooby a little bit wonky, but I mean,
Shaggy's was a little weird.
yeah, a
sometimes,
little
too.
bit weird at times. Frankly, I'm quite happy with it. I'd give it 8 Confederate soldier heads out of 10.
That's weird, Tommy. Why'd you pick that?
I think like rewatching this movie, I never get tired of it. Sure, there's there's like some slow bits, but it's like the build up.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm sorry to cut you off. But this movie,
Like right in the middle of talking.
no, but it's,
Shut up. Let me
You
talk.
yelled at him earlier
it's
for
about
doing
what
it
he's
to
talking
you.
about.
He did the same thing
Alex,
to
what do
you.
you think about this movie? You know, there's some slow parts. Shut up. I'm going to talk now.
Yeah, you know what, Alex?
Well,
Shut the fuck up.
I know
Alex.
whenever Alex talks, he goes on tangents and he'll have like 10 topics before, and then I'll have to go back to the first thing he said.
Okay,
So
let's
like,
hear it.
you said there's just a few slow bits, but I liked how this movie is only an hour and 13 minutes because
Perfect
I feel like
runtime.
if it was longer, this movie would have got boring in a lot
very
more
much
parts.
so. Yeah, there's really no.
Is that how long?
It was only an hour and 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Jesus,
And
that's
that's
like
with credits.
Yeah,
Damn.
there was no real dull moments in this movie. Not
No.
really. Then yeah, setting the whole setting up the stage for like
But that's fun.
the
'cause it's
plantation and all that
classic
kind of
get
stuff.
the gang back together.
Yeah. But it all worked together quite well.
Alex,
I mean,
continue.
there was a great plot.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say. Even the slow bits were like not that, like, oh man, like
Well, just them eating.
Just rap. It's that, yeah. It's usually just them eating. It's just like that's fine.
There wasn't a whole lot to do for like obviously it goes to Scooby and Shaggy as they're sort of out in the forest and they're seeing the ghost for the first time and
Yeah,
all that kind of
but
stuff.
besides that, they
There's
didn't do
not too
much.
much for the rest of the gang to do, but you know what I mean. They're kind of investigating their own clues and things like that. It works well enough.
Like watching this movie, it brings back the memories of what I had whenever like Cartoon Network was trying to promo this movie when they're airing it. I think that the Blair Witch Scooby-Doo was like their promo, like that was like the thing that was like getting them pumped for the movie. I could be remembering it wrong because you're saying it was for the
I don't remember
Scooby-Doo.
though. Either of us could be wrong, to be honest. I thought it was for Scooby-Doo Marathon, which
I believe this movie came out before the Blair Witch.
This came
yeah,
out.
this kid Blair Witch was.
This
was it
1999 is the same year.
So Blair, yeah. So this would have been for a different movie or a different thing.
That's what I'm thinking too. Is like it could be because everything's
all
such a close time
no,
frame.
all the Blair Witch promo, they were doing a 24-hour Scooby marathon for Halloween.
Yeah,
That was
Okay.
what the
I
promo
have on
was.
All right,
VHS
so
off Cartoon Network.
then
My
I'm
grandma
probably-
taped it.
Then I'm probably remembering it wrong, but I do remember like as a kid getting excited for this movie because of the commercials. I was like, the monsters are real.
Because they'd always have Moonscar running at the camera.
Yeah, tune in on Friday night. We're watching Scooby-Doo Zombie Island.
Maybe the key thing to take from that though is obviously there was a lot of
Hype.
Cartoon Network was very successful in revamping Scooby-Doo in the 90s. So like all the three of us, like this is what got us into it. It was the promo, this show that
I
was
would have
coming
never
out.
been able to
Pup
watch
named
any of the old
Scooby-Doo.
ones if it wasn't
Which was
for
the 80s, but-
Teletoon or Cartoon Network.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, Cartoon Network very successfully revamped an existing franchise.
All of them.
They treated it with respect, but in a progressive way that sort of opened it up for the future. It was a masterclass
They
in terms
introduced
of
a whole new generation into an old IP, and then they're like, "Oh, look, this is cool, and it's your generation."
yeah,
now.
exactly. Yeah.
So watching it, I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it when I was a kid. Enjoyed it now when I was older. I laughed at all these jokes still. Like there's new jokes that I laughed at that I wasn't even laughing at before. Like the
what?
fact that Scooby and Shaggy are just a bunch of like coked out, like not
Coked
coked.
out.
they're just high.
I missed that.
Yeah, no, they're not,
Not
coked
coked
out.
out. They're high off their rockers and they're just eating all the time. And they
Do you
always
think it was funny when Fred looked in the mirror and puts on the ass? He's like, "Nah."
and also like the fact with the whole like monsters and like I love monster movies or anything shows that does like a backstory. Like I got chills listening to the backstory of like how all this curse thing happened, and I still got chills with like the whole zombies and everything. So it's just like it still kind of gives you that same feeling of like this is still a horror movie. It's kind of sad that they never like came back to it. They kind of like like
They
okay,
did come back to it, which we didn't bring up. There's a sequel to this movie.
yeah,
It came out in 2019.
Didn't Fred die in that one actually?
What?
No, there wasn't.
Gonna kill Fred.
This was an episode. That's
Oh, I remember that. That's the one where Fred gets eviscerated, right?
Yeah, that's the one where Fred hung himself by an ascot trade, right?
That's the one where his cuckolding fetish becomes public and he hangs himself by his
Oh
ascot.
my god.
Could you guys believe that
That's not what I meant. There
my
was a-
future wife called Fred's ascot a scarf?
Yeah, yesterday we were watching. We're like, "Oh, look, he took off the ascot's voice." She's like, "His scarf." And we're like,
No.
"Shut the fuck up."
I
Yeah,
thought,
like, what?
I thought it was for sure like the sequel because it was like Fred was tied up, like they captured everyone.
Fred
and,
was tied up.
and they
In the
took
corner.
out. They
And
took,
getting his
they,
balls played
no, they
with while
took.
he
They
was watching
took.
Daphne get railed
They took out his.
by a Confederate soldier.
No, he was just in the corner
Hey,
tied
well,
up.
anyways, he didn't die, Alex. You don't have to explain
He
your
took
big
out
thing
his-
about him dying.
Well, okay, I'll give it 9 Confederates out of 10.
9 Confederates.
I had fun talking about it, but then you guys were just like, Alex, what you're saying is
You're explaining a fever dream that you had.
Yeah, you're describing the plot of a movie that doesn't exist. All right, John, how many Confederate
What did he say?
how many Confederate soldier heads would you give
How
them?
many Fred cucks do you give this movie?
8.5. Andrew, from what you remember.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a solid 8. I'm a big fan of Scooby-Doo, but don't remember too much.
Of this movie, because we were ordering pizza.
Just felt super nostalgic watching it, so there you go. There's your 8.
Alex, got anything to say before I end this? you sing "It's Terror Time" again while we go do the outro?
Yeah, give us a.
That's good enough.
And on that note, check you later.